What is up everyone, and welcome back to another video. So in today's video, we're going to be doing something a little bit different. Now I talk about peace control all the time on the channel. That's something that is a super common topic. But what I don't usually do is show you actual fighting examples of how to use most of it. So in today's video, what I'm going to be doing is showing you guys how to peace control in fights. I'm going to be showing you 10 different fights that I actually went through today. These are mostly going to be like realistic 1v1s and stuff like that. But these fights are all going to have different peace control examples, and basically I'll be showing you a bunch of different ways that you can use peace control in your actual fights. If you go on to enjoy this video, or if you find it helpful, then be sure to drop a like on it, subscribe if you're new to the channel and you want to see more, and as always, it's super appreciated if you could use code Teckoh in the item shop. It only takes like 5 seconds to type in, and it seriously does help me out a bunch. As always, a huge thank you to everyone who uses it. But with all that said, we've got a lot to go over, so let's get started. So our first fight is going to start off with me being on top of my opponent after coning in 2 different places. In this situation, I know he's either going to go backward or out to his left. So what I try to do is I predict him by building a flooring cone around the back of his build, and he ends up going straight there. So in this fight, I decided to jump in, which may or may not be a good idea depending on how low your opponent is and whether they're expecting it. But basically, I jump straight into the box here and place the cone so he can't build. I try to build all around him to get him stuck in my box and clean up the kill, but he actually gets out of the box after I shoot him. However, since I wrapped walls around me, I did end up claiming that wall, so before he could actually get away, I simply edit through that, place a cone above and below him so he can't build or jump out of the box, and then I wrap walls around so there's no escape and clean up the kill. This is a very classic example of an edit down and a full box in action. I used the edit down with the cone to catch him off guard, and then I full boxed him and went all in since he was low on HP and didn't have his gun out. Getting into our next clip, and this one is a prime example of how to actually push a box properly. This is something so many people mess up, and I'm actually going to be showing you one of my favorite techniques where you can get easy peace control on someone while pushing them. So starting out, I'm pushing this player's box, and I want you to notice how I set up diagonal from him. I place 2 cones, one between our boxes and one in my box. That way he's pretty much unable to build anywhere there. And then I wall off my right so I can reset if he edits on me, and my left so he can't go for that angle either. So already, just with this very basic setup, I have a counter for pretty much everything he can do. And I have this beautiful right hand peek setup while I'm actually pushing. Now I want you to watch this next part closely because I do something kind of unique here. I pickaxe his wall and I break it, but instead of just taking the wall like most people do, I actually place the cone in immediately and instantly switch to my wall. In this situation, I end up claiming both of these builds. You're pretty much always going to get the cone in, and the wall is kind of a 50-50. And this sets me up for a super easy right hand peek and ultimately a pretty smooth kill. But even if this guy managed to hold on to his wall, I already have the cone in his box, so I can either continue attacking the wall I was going for, or if I expect him to try and edit out, I can go get peace control on another box and clean up the kill that way. However you decide to do it, these 2 things we went over are super important. Pushing your opponent's box in the right way so they don't have a counterplay, and that wall and cone combination is such a powerful technique. Getting into fight number 3 though, and in this fight we're both building up to one another and we end up being on the same layer. I start by jumping and going for a shot which unfortunately doesn't connect here, but I end up in a box with my opponent diagonal from me. I see that he's building up, so my first instinct is to block him off. Just like in the last fight, when playing diagonal I always push on my right side so I have the right hand peek. All I do here is wrap my cone around to block him off on top. I place a wall so he can't shoot me, and at this point I notice that he doesn't even have his shotgun out yet, so I instantly go for the edit and secure the kill. I pretty much get this kill before he even knows what happened to him. This is a very simple right hand peek example, and ultimately some pretty simple peace control with the cone and a wall secured me a very easy kill here. Getting into fight number 4, and as you can see, this fight starts out with kind of a build fight, and what I end up doing is getting up to his level so we're on equal ground, and I do a quick move where I wrap all these walls around. I place my top ramp to cover me and my bottom ramp to get up, and notice how I built this extra layer above me. This is a classic example of a high wall, which is a super useful way to gain some peace control in a build fight, and this high wall ends up paying off big time because my opponent ends up building straight into it. So right as I end up placing this high wall, he's actually in that box. As soon as I notice he's going to end up in this box, I place a cone to block off the top, and I wrap walls to make sure he can't get out, and he dies before he even realizes what happened. So the moral of the story here is to make sure that you're going for these high wall opportunities while you're build fighting. This is one of the most effective ways to peace control someone in a build fight and can easily catch your opponent off guard, resulting in a pretty easy kill. These high walls are definitely something you want to practice, and they're super effective. Moving on to fight number 5, and first thing in this fight, what I do is I shoot my opponent's wall while I'm dropping down, and I time it so I can immediately take the wall on his level, and then a quick top right corner edit gets me an easy shot. Shooting while you're falling like I did here, and then taking the wall when you get down actually catches a lot of people off guard, and it can set you up for a pretty easy edit and shot as you see me take here. He ends up getting his wall back, but I want you to look closely at what I do next. I ended up breaking his wall with my shotgun, but I noticed he didn't build a new one. I already have a wall for cover between us, so I edit through that and I immediately place a wall right between us. From there, I simply go for a right hand peek and secure the kill easily. In this situation, my opponent definitely wasn't expecting me to just dive in on him, or really to do anything except maybe go for a basic edit or start building up, so he ended up letting his guard down, and not having that wall there ended up being a big mistake. Sometimes your opponent lets their guard down and you can easily take advantage using some simple piece control just like that. Moving on to fight number 6, and something that's super important when it comes to box fighting, especially in the realm of piece control, is building a 2x1 box instead of a 1x1 when you're able to. The biggest thing with a 2x1 box is it not only gives you more room to play with, but if your opponent attacks one of your walls, you automatically have piece control on them. Let me show you what I mean. As you can see in this fight, I'm hanging out in my 2x1 box and my opponent drops down and goes for my wall. I'm able to get a super quick shot off while he's pickaxing my wall, and knowing that I have the other wall on him, I immediately edit out the other side of my box, I cone off the top so he can't jump up, and I secure the easy kill before he even gets out. As you can tell here, I already had piece control on him from my initial box, and building a 2x1 instead of a 1x1 is one of the best ways to set up counter plays and piece control plays in a box fight. So if you don't already do that, make sure that you're doing that, because that's one of the most important things you can do. On to fight number 7 though, and this fight is going to be another example of how a 2x1 box sets you up for some beautiful piece control plays. As you can see here, my opponent drops on my wall, and as he's pickaxing, I take a quick edit, I get a shot off. It only connects for 39, but it is what it is, and I immediately place a cone so he's not able to get up. Now in this situation, my opponent can do one of two things. He can run out to my left or run out to my right. There's really nothing else he can do here. And either way, whether he goes out to the left or the right, I'm gonna go for some piece control. He ends up going out to my left, which is probably the easier one for me, and seeing him move out to that side, I immediately use the wall I already have built as part of my 2x1, and I catch him off guard with a quick full box and easily secure the kill. Predicting your opponent in these types of situations is so important, and really the biggest thing you want to keep in mind here is that when you're in this situation, you want to take a close look at where your opponent can go, and you want to try and predict where they're going to go. It definitely takes a lot of practice, but eventually, if you do this over and over again, you're going to get much better at predicting your opponent, so be sure to keep that in mind. On to fight number 8, and this is going to be another example of a pretty simple prediction. As you can see here, I'm pushing my opponent's box, and although you didn't see it, I did hit him for 105 damage just prior to this. So in this situation, I'm just trying to clean up the kill. So I know his main goal right now is to get away and heal. I push this wall and I go for my classic cone wall combination. I didn't get the wall this time, but I do get a cone, which puts him in a really awkward spot. In this situation, my opponent can move in any direction, but there's a mountain on one side, so he only has like half of the box, and my ramp is in the other box. So his only realistic option to get some distance is to go out back. Since I know this, and since I see him start to move back there, I immediately hop up, place my cone and floor so he can't block me off, and I immediately edit down with a cone in his box so it's forced into an aim duel. Now, most of the time, I wouldn't do this if we're on equal HP, but since he's already cracked and I have full HP and the element of surprise, my shotgun ends up blanking him, but I'm pretty easily able to get the kill. This edit down technique can be very risky, and you want to use it sparingly, but it's one of the best moves in the game if you either catch them off guard or you have a health advantage, especially when you're trying to clean up a fight and get a kill on somebody who keeps running away. This is something that you're definitely going to want to take advantage of. On to fight number 9, and in this fight, I'm pushing my opponent's box from above. I already have my cone there, so I start getting after his floor. In this situation, you always want to get a wall between you and your opponent, and you can see exactly why I did that here. He ends up going for an edit, and my wall blocks him. So at this point, he's pretty much sitting there and waiting for me to peek, and I pull off a pretty interesting move here. I move back so he's not able to jump and shoot me, and instead of pickaxing his floor, I actually shotgun it. The floor was one shot, so it was a pretty easy option here. Going for builds with your shotgun catches so many people off guard for some reason, and it works on all build pieces if they're low enough. So definitely keep that in mind when you're going for piece control. It's something you can easily catch people off guard with. And from here, it's a pretty simple kill. I end up placing a cone in his box so he can't cover himself. And from there, I simply go above him, get the shot off, and win the fight. And finally guys, getting into fight number 10, and this last fight is going to be a prime example of how to handle someone who jumps into your box trying to spray you. I know, especially with how good SMGs are sometimes in this game, this is something a lot of people struggle with, but I'm going to show you a super easy solution. In this fight, we're kind of in a build fight type of situation, and my opponent tries to dive in my box with the drum gun, and he actually gets in. Now the first thing I do immediately is I get out of this box and reposition. Knowing that I already have some piece control on him, I edit through and go for the rest of the walls, and once his reload on his drum gun runs out, I get the cone and he ends up full boxed. The thing to understand here is that anytime someone jumps in your box, the box is still yours. Oftentimes it's super easy to reposition yourself and use the piece control you already have to your advantage. So from here, I simply use my right hand peek and take a shot. Then he switches to his AR and tries to spray through, so I hop into another box, place a wall, and take another right hand peek to clean up the kill. So next time someone mindlessly dives into your box like that, keep in mind that if you play it out the right way, these fights can end up being some of your cleanest kills. It's really not that hard to counter some of this stuff, you just gotta know what you're doing. So hopefully that helps you guys out. But with all that said guys, that's going to wrap it up for today's video on how to piece control in fights. Overall, we've gone over 10 different fights in this video, mostly box fights and close range type of situations, but hopefully this gave you guys some really good ideas as to how you can piece control people and how you can actually catch them off guard completely. Piece control is one of those things that is fairly easy to understand as a concept, but it's a lot harder to apply. But hopefully in your games you can recognize these types of situations you saw in this video, and by building up those better habits and learning these techniques, you can end up setting yourself up super well to use these piece control techniques consistently. If you found this video helpful, then be sure to drop a like on it, subscribe to the channel if you're new and you want to see more, and as always guys, it's super appreciated if you could use code Teckoh in the item shop. It's 100% free for you, it only takes a few seconds to type in, and it seriously does help me out a bunch. And finally guys, let me know down in the comments what you guys want to see next on the channel. I'm definitely considering doing more of these gameplay review style videos if you guys want to see more of it. Obviously I can definitely hop into ranked or something like that and get some clips from there or whatever else you guys want to see, so let me know down in the comments what you want to see. But with all that said guys, thank you all for watching this video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye for now.